What happens when the world's biggest diesel engine maker decides to destroy its own empire? For over a century, Cummins has been the name behind power. The deep growl you hear from trucks, tractors, and machines that keep the world moving. But now, the king of diesel is doing something nobody expected. They're turning their back on the very fuel that made them famous, and betting everything on something invisible, explosive, and found everywhere in the universe: hydrogen. This isn't just a cool upgrade. It's a revolution that could wipe diesel off the map and shake the foundation of the trucking world. Because when the diesel titan starts building engines that don't burn diesel, you know the game is about to change. So, is this Cummins' greatest innovation, or the start of its own downfall? For more than 100 years, diesel has been the heartbeat of progress. Every roaring truck, every pounding tractor, every construction site echoing with that deep, thunderous growl, that's the sound of diesel at work. And standing tall above that sound? Cummins. From the legendary Ram 2500 pickups to the massive commercial rigs that cross continents, Cummins built its reputation on pure, unrelenting power. These engines weren't just machines, they were muscle and endurance forged into metal. The kind of power that made you feel unstoppable. To millions of drivers, mechanics, and truckers, the name Cummins meant one thing: reliability. When other engines failed, Cummins kept pushing, hauling, and building. Their engines became the backbone of entire industries, the symbol of hard work that never quit. But even legends can't outrun change. The same engines that built cities, plowed farms, and hauled the world's cargo now face their biggest challenge yet: a planet running out of patience for pollution. And that's where the story begins to twist. Because as the world demands cleaner air and stricter laws choke the life out of diesel, Cummins, the diesel king itself, faces an impossible question. Do they defend the old world they built, or create the new one that could replace it? For decades, diesel was untouchable, strong, reliable, and everywhere. But beneath that power, something darker was brewing. The same engines that built our cities were also quietly poisoning the air around them. Carbon emissions, soot, and toxic particles began to pile up, and the world finally started paying attention. Governments cracked down. Environmental groups got louder. And for the first time in a century, diesel wasn't seen as power, it was seen as a problem. In places like California, rules hit hard. Older diesel trucks were pushed off the roads completely. Europe followed with strict Euro 7 standards, tightening the noose on anything that burned fuel. Even global giants like shipping companies and tractor manufacturers were forced to rethink everything. And here's where it gets tricky. Cummins, the name built on diesel, suddenly found itself in the crosshairs of the very revolution it helped power. The message was clear: adapt or disappear. But Cummins isn't the kind of company that waits to be replaced. Instead of fighting the future, they decided to build it. And what they did next shocked the entire auto industry. Then, out of nowhere, Cummins did something no one saw coming. Instead of defending diesel, they decided to challenge it. The company that built its empire on roaring engines just announced something that barely makes a sound: a hydrogen-powered engine. It wasn't a side project or a green marketing stunt. This was a full-scale shift, a declaration that the future wouldn't be fueled by diesel, but by hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. And that move sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Because when Cummins, the face of diesel, turns its back on diesel, the rest of the world has to stop and listen. Hydrogen engines work a lot like traditional combustion engines, but instead of burning diesel, they burn hydrogen, releasing nothing but water vapor. No soot. No carbon. No black smoke curling into the sky. Just clean power and silence. And the best part? These new hydrogen engines don't need an entirely new kind of vehicle. They fit right into the same trucks, the same transmissions, the same systems that diesel used. It's not a replacement. It's an evolution. So while other companies scramble to figure out how to go electric, Cummins just found a shortcut, a cleaner path that still gives truckers the power and reliability they've trusted for decades. But this isn't just innovation. It's rebellion. Cummins isn't following the electric crowd, it's starting a new race altogether. So how exactly did Cummins pull this off? They didn't start from scratch. They reimagined one of their greatest hits. The same engine that's powered Ram trucks for years, the legendary B6.7, got a complete makeover. Only this time, instead of burning diesel, it runs on pure hydrogen. And then there's its big brother, the X15H, a 15-liter monster built to take on the toughest jobs in long-haul trucking and farming. These aren't concept engines sitting in a lab somewhere. They're already testing on real trucks, delivering over 500 horsepower and 1,200 newton-meters of torque, the same muscle diesel is known for. That's the part that made everyone stop and stare. Because hydrogen engines aren't supposed to be that strong. Yet Cummins made it happen. And they did it without asking truckers to change the way they work. No massive redesigns. No waiting hours to recharge like an EV. Hydrogen engines refuel in minutes, just like diesel. You pull in, tank up, and you're back on the road. The best part? These engines slide right into the same chassis, use the same transmissions, and can even be serviced by the same mechanics. To the driver, it feels like diesel, but it runs cleaner than a glass of water. Behind the scenes, the engineering is mind-blowing. Cummins developed a new combustion chamber that perfectly blends hydrogen with air, making it burn faster, cleaner, and more efficiently than traditional fuels. Every spark, every explosion inside the cylinder is tuned for maximum energy with zero carbon. Early tests show incredible performance, not just in power, but in reliability. And if there's one thing Cummins knows, it's how to build an engine that refuses to quit. But the most brilliant part isn't the tech itself. It's how Cummins plans to use it. Because while everyone else is betting everything on electric, Cummins is quietly preparing a move that could let them dominate both worlds. While everyone else was shouting about electric revolutions, Cummins was playing a much smarter game, a double one. They knew electric vehicles were the future, but they also knew one simple truth: the world isn't ready yet. Charging networks can't handle millions of trucks. Batteries are still heavy, expensive, and slow to recharge. And for industries that live or die by uptime, logistics, mining, construction, time is money. Every minute a truck sits waiting for a charge is a minute lost. So while Tesla and Nikola chased headlines, Cummins built options. They didn't pick a side between electric and combustion, they built both. Their hydrogen engines became the bridge. They run clean like electric but use the same infrastructure and know-how as diesel. And at the same time, Cummins quietly launched a new division called Accelera, dedicated entirely to zero-emission tech, batteries, fuel cells, and even full electric drivetrains. That means while competitors are struggling to survive the shift, Cummins is standing on both sides of it, collecting profits from the present and the future. Think about that for a second. They're selling diesel engines to companies that aren't ready to switch, and selling hydrogen and electric solutions to those who already have. It's not just innovation, it's strategy on a whole different level. Because when the world finally flips to clean energy, Cummins won't need to reinvent itself. They'll already be there, engines ready, supply chains running, and a century of trust behind their name. But what really gives Cummins an edge isn't just their strategy, it's who they've partnered with. And those partnerships could rewrite the future of transportation entirely. Cummins knows one company alone can't change the world, but a network can. So instead of competing in silence, they started teaming up with the biggest names across the globe. One of their strongest allies? Toyota. While Toyota has been developing hydrogen fuel cells for years, Cummins brings something Toyota never had: raw power and experience in heavy-duty engines. Together, they're blending their strengths, Toyota's hydrogen tech with Cummins' industrial expertise, to create a new generation of trucks that could redefine the future of transport. Then came the partnership with Air Products, one of the world's largest hydrogen suppliers. This wasn't just about making engines, it was about building the fueling network that keeps them running. From truck stops to industrial depots, Cummins and Air Products are setting up hydrogen stations across North America, Europe, and Asia. And they're not stopping there. Cummins has signed deals with Tata Motors in India, Scania in Europe, and Daimler Truck in the US, each one aimed at integrating hydrogen engines into commercial fleets. The goal? To make hydrogen not just a clean option, but a practical one. What's genius about these alliances is that they spread risk while multiplying reach. Every partner brings something: infrastructure, production, or market access, and together, they form a hydrogen ecosystem no single company could build alone. While the media keep spotlighting Tesla and BYD, Cummins is quietly locking down the backbone of global logistics. They're not fighting for the passenger car market, they're targeting the machines that move the world. And that's exactly why Wall Street started to pay attention. Because behind the clean tech headlines, something massive was happening to Cummins' numbers, and it caught investors completely off guard. When Cummins rolled out the hydrogen engines, the shockwaves weren't just technical, they hit the balance sheets. Investors suddenly realized this wasn't a small experiment. It was a strategic pivot that could reshape entire industries. Shares ticked upward as analysts scrambled to revise forecasts, factoring in potential hydrogen adoption across trucking, agriculture, and construction. Meanwhile, competitors started to sweat. Fleets that had once been loyal to diesel began asking questions: if hydrogen is here, and it works just as well, why stick with fuel that's losing favor fast? Even the largest diesel manufacturers realized they might be on the defensive, forced to invest billions to catch up. And it wasn't just the companies. Entire supply chains felt the tremors. Refineries, diesel parts manufacturers, and aftermarket service networks, all built around a century of diesel dominance, suddenly faced the prospect of a shrinking market. Fleet operators were quick to notice the advantage. Hydrogen meant fewer emissions fines, lower carbon footprints, and future-proofed operations. Companies like Enterprise Leasing, Versatile Tractors, and major logistics giants started placing orders, a clear signal that the industry was shifting in real time. The result? Diesel's reign, once unchallenged, started to show cracks. It wasn't going to disappear overnight, but for the first time, there was a credible, scalable alternative, one backed by a company with a reputation, infrastructure, and know-how to make it work. Cummins wasn't just innovating. They were reshaping the economics, the perception, and the very foundation of the trucking and heavy machinery industries. And as the world watched, the quiet hum of hydrogen engines began to sound louder than diesel's roar ever did. Electric trucks have been stealing headlines for years, promising quiet roads and zero emissions. But when it comes to the heavy-duty world, long-haul freighters, massive construction machines, and relentless farm equipment, batteries often hit their limits. Charging times can stretch for hours. Range can shrink under heavy loads. And when uptime is everything, every pause costs money. Enter hydrogen engines. They combine the benefits of electric, clean, silent, carbon-free, with the practicality of combustion. Refueling takes minutes, not hours. Power and torque stay consistent, even under the heaviest loads. And unlike batteries, hydrogen doesn't get weaker the longer it works. For industries that never sleep, hydrogen isn't just a maybe, it's a solution that actually works. Trucks can run all day, farms can plow through fields, and construction sites can operate non-stop without the downtime headaches that electric setups bring. In short, hydrogen doesn't just compete with diesel, it solves the problems that electric hasn't yet mastered. And that's why Cummins isn't betting on one future. They're building the bridge to a world where both hydrogen and electric power can coexist, depending on the job. Because in the end, the future of heavy machinery isn't about choosing sides. It's about choosing efficiency, power, and practicality. And hydrogen just put itself firmly in the lead. If the B6.7 is the promise, the X15H is the proof, a 15-liter monster built to tackle the heaviest jobs on Earth. Long-haul trucking, mining rigs, massive agricultural machines, nothing is too big for this engine. We're talking over 500 horsepower and 1,200 newton-meters of torque, matching the raw might of diesel legends. And it's not just about raw power. Cummins designed the X15H to be fuel-flexible, hydrogen, biogas, or even sustainable diesel. Fleets can adapt depending on availability and cost, without losing performance. What makes it truly impressive is how seamlessly it integrates. The X15H fits in existing trucks and works with current transmissions, meaning operators don't need to reinvent the wheel. Mechanics trained on diesel can jump right in, while drivers feel the same responsiveness and control they've relied on for decades. And here's the kicker, hydrogen combustion isn't just clean, it's smart. Cummins engineered a combustion chamber that burns hydrogen efficiently, producing full power while emitting nothing but water vapor. That's power, performance, and environmental responsibility, all rolled into one beast. With the X15H, Cummins isn't just showing off a prototype, they're proving that hydrogen engines can stand toe-to-toe with diesel, today, not in some distant future. Powerful engines are one thing, but without fuel, they're just metal and ambition. That's where hydrogen faces its first real test, infrastructure. Unlike diesel, which has a pump on almost every corner, hydrogen stations are still rare. Refueling networks are limited, storage tanks are expensive, and transporting hydrogen safely is a complex challenge. For a fleet manager, these aren't small concerns. They can make or break the decision to switch fuels. But Cummins isn't leaving it to chance. They're investing in 35-megawatt electrolyzers, advanced hydrogen production plants, and strategic partnerships with suppliers like Air Products. They're building the network while introducing the engines, ensuring trucks can actually get fueled and keep moving. Government backing helps, too. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, along with global incentives, is funneling billions into hydrogen hubs and refueling infrastructure. This isn't just corporate ambition, it's coordinated growth, a strategy to make hydrogen a practical reality, not a sci-fi dream. Still, challenges remain. Expanding stations worldwide takes years, billions, and careful planning. But every new hub is a step toward tipping the scales, turning hydrogen from a niche experiment into a fully viable alternative to diesel. Cummins knows that for hydrogen to succeed, engines, fuel, and refueling must all move forward together. And that's exactly the game they're playing. Cummins isn't trying to go it alone. They know the road to a hydrogen-powered world requires allies, and they've been building them quietly, methodically, globally. In India, Tata Motors is integrating Cummins hydrogen engines into commercial fleets, opening a market of millions of trucks that move goods across the subcontinent. Europe sees Scania and Daimler Truck joining forces, testing hydrogen trucks in cities, highways, and ports. And in agriculture, Versatile Tractors is helping farmers take the leap toward clean energy without sacrificing power. These partnerships do more than expand reach, they build a hydrogen ecosystem. Fuel stations, maintenance support, and supply chains are being coordinated across continents, making adoption smoother for fleets and industries that rely on uptime. And don't forget the tech collaboration. Companies like Toyota contribute decades of fuel cell and hydrogen expertise, while Cummins supplies the muscle and industrial know-how. Together, they're creating a network that's faster, stronger, and more practical than any single company could manage alone. The result? Hydrogen stops being a curiosity and becomes a real, deployable solution. Fleets, farmers, and logistics giants see not just clean engines, but an entire infrastructure backing them up, and that's when momentum starts to snowball. Cummins isn't just selling engines. They're orchestrating a global shift, one partnership at a time, turning hydrogen from a futuristic idea into a tangible, unstoppable force. Diesel built the world, but it also left a mark we can't ignore. Soot, carbon, and toxic emissions have been the price of progress. And while regulations try to catch up, Cummins is taking a different approach, solving the problem at the source. Hydrogen engines produce nothing but water vapor. No black smoke, no CO2, no harmful particles that choke cities or coat farmland in grime. For fleet operators, it's more than compliance. It's a chance to actually reduce their environmental footprint while keeping the same power they've relied on for decades. Consider a long-haul truck running on hydrogen. Each journey could save thousands of pounds of CO2 emissions annually. Multiply that across fleets, and suddenly we're talking about a measurable impact on climate goals. Construction, mining, agriculture, industries that once struggled to decarbonize now have a practical, zero-carbon option. And the benefits don't stop at air quality. Cleaner engines mean less wear on the environment overall. Roads, soil, and water all suffer less stress from fuel spills, exhaust, and heavy particulate matter. Cummins' hydrogen push isn't just good for regulations, it's good for the planet itself. By turning a century of diesel expertise into hydrogen power, Cummins is proving that performance and sustainability can coexist. The engines roar, the wheels turn, and the air stays cleaner. It's a rare win-win in an industry where progress often comes with compromise. Hydrogen engines aren't just about saving the planet, they're about saving money too. At first glance, diesel has always looked unbeatable. Pump price, availability, familiarity. It's hard to argue against a system that's been running smoothly for over a century. But hydrogen is starting to flip that script. For fleet operators, total cost of ownership matters more than sticker price. Hydrogen engines promise lower maintenance because they have fewer dirty byproducts wearing down parts. No soot means less clogging in injectors and filters, translating to fewer service stops and longer engine life. Production costs are coming down too. Cummins is investing in electrolyzers and strategic supply chains, aiming to create hydrogen at scale. As production ramps up, fuel prices could stabilize or even undercut diesel in some regions. Combine that with incentives and subsidies from governments pushing green energy, and suddenly hydrogen isn't the expensive experiment people feared, it's a viable, competitive alternative. Then there's the hidden savings. Companies adopting hydrogen fleets reduce the risk of fines for emissions violations, avoid carbon taxes, and bolster their reputation as environmentally responsible. It's not just dollars saved at the pump, it's a financial strategy that pays off in compliance, branding, and operational efficiency. The message is clear. Cummins isn't just selling engines, they're selling a profitable, sustainable future. And for fleets willing to take the leap, hydrogen could be the smartest investment they've made in decades. Cummins' hydrogen engines didn't just turn heads, they rattled the entire industry. Competitors who dominated diesel for decades suddenly found themselves on the defensive. Every announcement, every fleet order, made them realize that hydrogen wasn't just a niche experiment, it was a real threat to their market share. Electric truck makers, once the darlings of green headlines, began facing scrutiny. For heavy-duty work, batteries still struggle. Cummins hydrogen engines, by contrast, could operate all day without downtime. That practicality forced even electric advocates to admit, this technology might actually work where others falter. Meanwhile, traditional diesel manufacturers scrambled. Some accelerated green diesel and hybrid programs, others began exploring hydrogen themselves, but none had Cummins' advantage, a century of industrial engine expertise, a global supply network, and strategic partnerships spanning continents. Fleet operators weren't shy either. Companies like Enterprise Leasing, Versatile Tractors, and major logistics firms started asking, why stick with diesel if hydrogen is ready and reliable? Orders began flowing, pilots launched, and suddenly the market momentum was undeniable. Cummins had done more than innovate, they had shifted the chessboard. Competitors are reacting, but for now, Cummins is moving first, setting the rules, and defining the future of heavy-duty transportation. Hydrogen engines aren't just for highways, they're built for the toughest jobs on Earth. Take agriculture, for example. Farmers have relied on diesel tractors for decades, trusting that raw torque to plow fields, harvest crops, and move mountains of soil. Cummins hydrogen engines offer the same strength and reliability, but without the smoke and emissions clouding the air. Imagine fields free of diesel haze, yet still running at full power, a cleaner, quieter, and greener farm without sacrificing productivity. Construction sites tell the same story. Massive excavators, bulldozers, and cranes can now run on hydrogen without changing workflows. The engines handle non-stop operation, heavy loads, and long shifts just like diesel, but with a fraction of the environmental footprint. No soot, no black smoke, just clean power. Mining, forestry, and off-road industrial operations also benefit. Anywhere diesel once ruled, hydrogen now competes. Silently, efficiently, and with enough power to keep even the hardest tasks moving. Early adopters are already seeing the impact. Farmers and contractors report minimal differences in performance, but a noticeable drop in maintenance issues tied to soot and grime. Hydrogen engines are performing quietly in the background while the world notices cleaner air, lower emissions, and reduced regulatory pressure. Cummins isn't just transforming trucks, they're transforming the very foundation of industries that rely on heavy-duty power, one engine at a time. Hydrogen may sound futuristic, even risky to some. But Cummins has tackled these concerns head-on. Hydrogen engines are engineered with multiple safety layers. Tanks are reinforced, pressure is carefully monitored, and sensors detect leaks before they become a problem. In short, the system is designed to protect drivers, mechanics, and fleets from the risks that some imagine when they hear hydrogen. Durability is another strong suit. These engines are built on decades of diesel expertise, using parts and designs that have proven themselves under the harshest conditions. Extreme heat, non-stop operation, and heavy loads. The X15H and B6.7 variants have been tested extensively, showing that hydrogen doesn't mean sacrificing toughness. Mechanics familiar with diesel engines will find the transition easy. The engines use similar components and repair protocols, meaning fleets don't need to train crews from scratch. Drivers also notice a familiar feel, the same torque, responsiveness, and reliability, but now with a cleaner, quieter operation. Skepticism is natural, but every test, every pilot, and every early adopter reinforces that hydrogen engines can be just as dependable, sometimes even more so, than diesel. Cummins isn't just promising safety and reliability, they're proving it with engines that can survive the real world. For industries where downtime is unacceptable, hydrogen isn't a gamble, it's a calculated, engineered solution ready to perform day in and day out. Cummins hydrogen engines aren't just another innovation, they're a wake-up call to the entire transportation world. Diesel, the backbone of trucking, agriculture, and construction for over a century, now faces a contender that's clean, powerful, and practical. From the B6.7 powering pickups to the monstrous X15H in long-haul rigs, Cummins is proving that hydrogen can deliver raw torque, reliability, and efficiency without polluting the planet. It's a technology ready for today, not some distant future, and it's already rolling out in fleets, farms, and construction sites across the globe. But this isn't just about engines. Cummins is building a hydrogen ecosystem, fueling stations, supply chains, global partnerships, and production plants. They're setting the stage for a world where hydrogen is accessible, practical, and scalable. Fleets save money, regulators get cleaner air, and industries gain a future-proof alternative to diesel. Of course, challenges remain. Hydrogen infrastructure is still limited, production costs must drop, and diesel still holds an entrenched position. But Cummins' strategy, combining innovation, reliability, and partnerships, positions them to tip the balance. Hydrogen isn't a gamble, it's a calculated, unstoppable push toward the future. So, will diesel survive, or will hydrogen engines redefine heavy-duty power forever? The answer will unfold mile by mile, engine by engine. One thing is clear, Cummins isn't waiting for the future to arrive, they're building it, one clean, roaring, hydrogen-powered engine at a time. The road ahead is quiet, powerful, and zero carbon. And for anyone watching, it's a ride worth following.